Absolutely loved that Dale Sr. reflection and monologue from Marty Smith at the end of the 7 a.m. hour. Well done there. We'll hear from Genesis Invitational host Tiger Woods talk about the influence of his dad, Earl. A little later on, Tiger spoke on a multitude of subjects to begin the week there at Riviera in LA. Nice to have you aboard. I'm Will Doctor, bringing you the latest as far as the world of golf. We are through two rounds of the Genesis Invitational here in week 6 of the PGA Tour season. You got through some early weather there in LA, but it's shaping up to be a beautiful weekend as Jacob Bridgman and Marco Ping hold a one-shot lead. And you've got chasers like Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele, the class Adam Scott, who put on an absolute movie yesterday with that second round 63. And last year's Tour Championship winner, Tommy Fleetwood. They are all in the top 10 chasing Ping and Bridgman. We start with Ping. He was the top player on the DP World Tour last year and began his PGA Tour season 4 weeks ago. All while his wife, Sophie, is pregnant with their second child and is due next week. Now, they are from England, so this is the Ping's first few weeks in the States. And his wife, Sophie, was a fantastic golfer in her own right. Won the 2016 Ladies British Amateur. She was the low amateur at the 2017 Women's British Open. And together, Marco and Sophie won the Sunningdale Amateur in 2016, which is a notable mixed team event across the pond. I got to say, this is a pretty cool golf family in the making. Here was Ping on opening 66-64 at Riviera, all while his wife is at home by herself with their 1.5-year-old baby Enzo, a week out from delivering her second. Here's Marco on contending through those circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be next week, so well, hopefully it'll be she lasts out till next week. Yeah, it's been quite tough, to be fair, the last 4 weeks for me and my family because, you know, she's been in the US on her own, heavily pregnant, looking after a 1.5-year-old at the same time with no family and friends around. So it's kind of been like a bit of a gamble of me just kind of going to compete and leaving her on her own. But, you know, she's so supported. I'm so lucky to have her, and we're both really excited to have another child in a week's time.
This would be the story of the West Coast swing if Ping was able to get it done after two phenomenal rounds in the soft European conditions in LA. It pretty much rained through the first 3 days of the week, and then it continued Thursday, and as a result, 30 players had to come back early Friday morning to finish up their first round. You look at Ping's resume, 3 wins in Europe last year, won last April in China, won the Danish Championship in August, and then won his third at the Open de España in October. He was number 1 on their money list last year and got into the first 2 signature events of the season at Pebble and at Riviera as a result. So a good week here could go a long way as far as getting into Bay Hill and the rest of the signature events. Now, Ping, he has not finished better than 64th in 3 starts to begin the season. And I was under the impression, honestly, it was because he switched to PXG and those hot melt, hot face irons that produce the flyers. But that's obviously not the case, really, with all he has going on at home. And at 27 years old with soon-to-be 2 kids, a $4 million check at the end of this week would be huge.
For me, is I'm out here playing for my family and my team, really. Yes, I'm playing for myself, but I'm just playing because I love to compete. Nothing else other than that for me. I get more of a buzz of being successful for the people that helped me get to that point. You know, my success last year, it was great and amazing, but I'm just the same person I was when I was a young boy, and it doesn't really get to me, if you know what I mean. So I just enjoy competing and having a challenge and being able to overcome it.
Ping did say after the second round that he has had some trouble on firm greens to begin the year, and that the soft greens in LA this week model a little bit more of what he's seen in Europe over the first 27 years of his life. But he's also working with the same putting coach as world number one Scotty Scheffler. Here was the back and forth and more on the change Ping has made as far as his putting.
I've decided to go left below right on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then was actually starting it online, but then the greens being so fast kind of freaked me out with that. I had a chat with my putting coach, Phil Kenyon. He come up to me on Wednesday and kind of gave me a bit of a pep talk and kind of got me out of being, I've been in my own way on the greens. So he kind of put his arm around me and told me what I need to focus on. And I've putted great for the last 2 days.
What's the main focus on the greens? What are you thinking about when you pull it back?
It's just forgetting about where's my line aim and forgetting about what do I need to think to stroke it well. Forgetting about all the technical stuff. It's more scoping the putt out from the sides and walking around the hole and really visualising and getting into the putt. That's something that I haven't been doing. I've been getting so stuck on my stroke and kind of forgotten about everything else. Whereas these last 2 days, it's all about visualising and just, trying to see the ball go into the hole from a certain point and stuff like that.
He really is rolling it amazing. Number 2 in the field this week in putting. And, another interesting note is that Marco Ping said after his round that he doesn't feel good with his swing. If you look into his second round 64, he only hit 11 greens and was 7 for 7 in scrambling. Can you imagine going 66-64 at Riviera and not feeling great about your game? Imagine shooting 64 at Riv, only hitting 11 greens. Do you understand how impressive that is? Here was Marco on really not feeling great over the golf ball.
I think I just managed it really well today. I'm not swinging it how I want to swing it, but I kind of know what I need to do to make sure I don't hit a certain shot, if you know what I mean. So I'm just having to manage my game at the moment and rely on other parts of my game that feel good.
Yeah, I would say as far as Ping, the number one story there, his wife Sophie is pregnant. But number 2, if you really want to get into the stats, once again, Marco Ping is 12 under. He's outside the top 40 in the field in approach and greens in regulation. 12 for 14 over 2 days in scrambling, which is flat out incredible around the Kikuyu at Riv. Looking at the man he is tied with, it's Clemson alum Jacob Bridgman. Bridgman made it all the way to the Tour Championship last year as one of the Tour's top 30 players and has started the season with 2 top 10s and 4 starts, including last week at Pebble, where he was in the hunt through some tough conditions there off the coast. He was Bridgman after round 2 at Riviera.
I think I'm really good in the elements and good at kind of flighting the ball, hitting it low, judging the shots that aren't it's not as easy to figure out how far it's playing. I think I'm good at those kind of field shots, and that came into play pretty much every hole last week because the wind was going so crazy. And even yesterday and today, the wind was pretty strong, and I had to hit some shots like that, and I think that's kind of where I take a step up.
Yeah, Bridgman was another one. You look at his second round 64, and you look at how many greens he hit. Bridgman shot a second round 64, only hitting 12 greens. So what you're seeing is some incredible short game out of the 2 leaders. The media was joking with Bridgman that since he's a Clemson guy, more of a Southerner, he's not supposed to be putting well on POA greens. And Bridgman, spoke about how he really didn't enjoy the green surfaces on the West Coast up until this year, but he's number 1 in the field in putting up to this point in the tournament. And he spoke with the media about being shocked by the soft conditions at Riviera this week.
Yeah, it's shocking how soft they are and how fast they are. I think 2 or 3 times today I hit it 6 feet by the hole and just was wow. I don't know how they're that fast. It's because you can hit a 5-iron, a low 5-iron, it'll back up. So it's very strange how soft they are and fast, but it's probably the most pure Poena I've ever seen.
I'm rooting for the Ping and Bridgman story, 2 grinders trying to get their first wins on the PGA Tour. when you look at the matchups, the third-round matchups, and who they go against, Bridgman has a matchup against Max Gracerman where he's a minus 120 favorite. We'll hear from Gracerman later on. He's playing great through 2 rounds, and, of course, we had his caddy, Adam Palmer, live on the show over the offseason. Bridgman and Ping face off against each other in a round 3 matchup. Bridgman's a minus 105 favorite there. But as far as winning this tournament, you got to watch out for who's chasing. In solo third is world number 2 Rory McIlroy, who carded a bogey-free 65 yesterday. And 11 under marks Rory's 36-hole low at Riviera as he tries to get his first career win in L.A. Has never won the Genesis Invitational. Obviously, it wouldn't be his first career win. Here was world number 2 on navigating the windy but soft conditions that really set up for his game perfectly.
Yeah, I feel you have to control your ball flight really well, downwind or into the wind, depending on what you need. Like 18, for example, that's a typical very hard shot, that second shot, because the back pin, it's straight downwind. You're a little scared of going long and then having that downhiller. So, I eased up on mine, leave it 30 feet short. It's a tough one. I don't think I've made a birdie on a par 4 today. I made 2 birdies in the par 3s, and then, I played the par 5 as well. So it's hard to get it really close because the greens are soft, but then they're also fast and they've got quite a lot of pitch to them. So, once balls get momentum away from the hole, they just sort of keep going. So, it's hard to get the ball really, really close, I've found, but just kept giving myself sort of 20, 25 footers, knowing that pars on some holes are good and you take advantage of the more scoreable holes.
We're going to hear from other of the chasers throughout the show. 2-time major champion Xander Schauffele, Adam Scott, Minwoo Lee, Matt Fitzpatrick, Tommy Fleetwood. You have a ton of elite chasers going into the weekend at the Genesis, but there's no one else more dangerous than Rory McIlroy at a soft Riviera. He is plus 190 to win this tournament heading into the weekend. You look at Rory's stats, he is completely dialed in with the driver. He is top five in the field with his irons right now. And this is the most dangerous of all. This is when Rory's number 3 in the field in putting. That is when he is most lethal. Obviously had Rory to top 10 at the beginning of the week. My personal one winner on Tuesday was Scotty Scheffler, and he had to make a sidewinder to make the cut at even par. We'll hear from Scheffler later on. I don't mind Rory at all live at plus 190 with the way this golf course is setting up for him. The other elite players in the mix, Xander Schauffele and Adam Scott, are in a tie for 4th, sitting 3 back. We will hear from Adam Scott on the other side. We will get up to date with what's going on at the Kenya Open on the DP World Tour. Young 21-year-old phenom Angel Iora is tied for the lead heading into the final round, which will take place overnight on the Golf Channel. Quick break. This is the Golf Hour with Will Doctor on ESPN Houston. Back after this.
Mike Booker, chairman of the Texas Golf Hall of Fame and holder of a record number of Texas Golf Association championships.
The Texas Golf Hall of Fame is the foundation of golf in our great state. So many great individuals, Ben Hogan, Byron Nelson, Kathy Whitworth, Ben Crenshaw, and many others, lead the way in making golf in Texas known around the world. Now you can experience the history of Texas golf digitally at texasgolfhof.org and share with your family and friends. See you on the course.
This is the Golf Hour
on ESPN 97.5 and the ESPN Houston app.
From the Huntington Bank Studios, here's Will Doctor.
Nice to have you aboard. The great Ryan Morrow is with us on the ones and twos today. 713-780-3776 is the number. We'll get to your calls in the third and final segment. In case you missed segment one, we heard from the leaders going into the weekend at Riviera. Marco Ping and Jacob Bridgman, both looking for their first PGA Tour victory. We'll bring you back to some of the chasers and get into some of these stories, the guys that will try to work their way up over the weekend, starting on moving day. You know, Adam Scott's 8 under 63 was the best television available yesterday. This is a major champion, a former Genesis Invite winner, who looks completely dialed in. He's had some putting and short game struggles early on in the season, but this is a course he knows well, and he is a proper course fit who is showing up, and someone who we're going to hear from Adam a little bit later on about how he with age and with maturity over the years, he's able to kind of weather off those stretches where he's missed 3 cuts in a row. He's able to pull his game out of the woodworks a little faster. Here was Scott after the 8 under 63 yesterday.
I mean, I have a slight sour taste after coming off the last there, but it's probably my best. I mean, I actually couldn't really believe it through 13. I think I was 9. I don't even imagine that going out here. So, it's probably my best round out here. I know there were a lot of good scores today. I did shoot. I remember one. I think it was the year I won recently that I shot. I think it was on Thursday. I shot 7 in the morning, and and it was a drier week, maybe more challenging, but there's always a challenge. Like just getting the ball to the hole is hard when the greens are soft here. So this is great.
Yeah, I actually missed the fact that he bogeyed 18. In this 63 yesterday for Adam Scott, he eagled 1, made birdies on 3 and 5 and 9. Eagled the par 5 11th and made birdies on 12 and 13. Then missed a par putt for 62 on the 18th. It's so interesting to dive into Adam Scott's first 3 events of the season. The Sony Open, he drives it and hits his irons amazing, but lost shots to the field with the short game and putting, finished tied 40th. The American Express in Palm Springs, Scott finished tied 24th. Same story there, hit his driver and approach phenomenal, but the short game and the putting were still a little bit rusty, and that was the same situation at Torrey Pines a couple weeks ago. He finished tied 30th there, had a great week off the tee and out of the fairway, but just could not get anything going on or around the greens. That has all changed this week. We're going to hear from Scott regarding the putting change he made, but first let's hear his thoughts on just being in the mix heading into the weekend.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm, lucky to be here this week on an invite, obviously, and it's my favorite stop on tour of the year, so I'm wanting to make the most of it. I've been feeling like I've had a lot of good golf since last summer and got absolutely no results thanks to average putting, I would say. The standard's incredibly high out here week in and week out, and average putting just isn't going to get it done. So nice to see myself kind of up on the first page of a leaderboard, and hopefully I can play a couple more good rounds and be in the hunt here. It'd be pretty awesome to get a victory here again.
You knew the 45-year-old 13-time PGA Tour winner was close heading into this season. He talked about the nice offseason. Adam went to Japan in October, had a couple nice starts at the Bay Current in the Japan Open Golf Championship where he finished 11th. And then he went to Australia over the holidays, played the BMW PGA and the Crown Australian Open, finished 7th and 5th there. But once again, through 3 events in 2026, Scott has not logged a finish better than 24th in 3 starts. And he talked after the round about how much easier it's becoming to shake off bad tournaments as he's gotten older.
I mean, I'll give myself a bit of credit. I've always felt like since I was a kid I could shoot a low score. I've never really put the handbrake on, although it might have looked like it the last couple of holes. They were my best. But I've always kind of been happy to just, when I'm feeling good, have a go at it. And I made a couple misjudgments. 16 was a bit of a misjudgment, but I don't think it gets tougher. I think as it gets older, it's tougher to react as quickly, maybe with everything. But, when you were young, you miss 3 cuts in a row and then you go out and win somehow. You shake it off and you win the next week. I feel like all these processes are slower, maybe through more knowledge and caution or paralysis by analysis or something, and the instinct. I think the thing I could work harder on is like instinct out there.
And what a better place to find it for Adam Scott. He won here at Riviera in 2005, finished second in 2006, another runner-up in 16, came back here and won in 2020 and had another 4th place finish in 2022. As aforementioned, the reason he has struggled to open this year is due to a slight cold streak with the putter, and he has not been dialed in around the greens. Here was Scott on how he's been looking to improve that.
My short game was really lacking, especially putting last year. After having like 3 or 4 good years of putting, out here last year was really slow. It wasn't necessarily anything I could really put a finger on, or I would have tried to fix it sooner. It's just a lot of putts weren't going in. So I've been working on that the last few weeks, especially since Torrey. I went in a lab and did all that kind of stuff, which is not really what I usually do, but that provided a little insight. I made a slight tweak to some putters. Actually, I've putted with 2 different putters this week, and today worked well, so I'll stick with this one for now.
Once again, it's going to be tough to stop Rory in the tough conditions. I do like Adam Scott heading the weekend. Looking at what matchups you could potentially get aboard Adam Scott. You've got Adam Scott versus Min-Woo Lee where at Bovada, BetOnline, and DraftKings, where Scott is around a -105 favorite. You do have Adam Scott as a -115 favorite against Max Grayserman. And we know Scott has the advantage as far as course history here. Scott over Grayserman, and nothing but respect to Grayserman and Adam Palmer. I hope they crush it over the weekend, find a way to get their first PGA Tour victory. But the honest truth here is that Adam Scott has a little bit of leverage over Grayserman going into the weekend based on how much knowledge that he has of this place. And in case you missed the Adam Scott 63 yesterday, that is an all-time rewatchable. He was completely dialed in. I'm going to go back and watch that a couple more times later on today. Xander Schauffele is another very attractive chaser from an odds perspective. Let's see what Xander opens. He opens at +650 going into the weekend. He opened 68-65, sitting at 9 under. Here was Xander, who was tied with Adam Scott, three shots back of the lead. Here was Xander on how much Riviera changes when it's soft.
Yeah, you're definitely committing to something that's very different than normal. Usually you're trying to play up to certain holes. Now out of the rough, you're like, oh, this is a jumper. It might fly pin. And you're like, that's actually pretty good because it's just going to plug. So sometimes it's hard to commit in that sense, to fly it all the way to the hole, to those sort of back pins out of the rough or even out of the fairway.
Yeah, he has managed those conditions beautifully. The top player who struggled with the conditions Thursday afternoon, that was world number 1 Scottie Scheffler. He came out and made bogeys and it was unfortunate timing with the sort of the bad luck of the draw when you get into why Scheffler has struggled in these opening rounds. He often tees off later on Thursday, can get impacted by winds or chewed up greens. And we saw that firsthand on Thursday where he bogeyed the second, bogeyed the sixth, made a double on 8, and another bogey on 10 before getting pulled off the course. Scotty was one of those 30 players who had to come back out and finish his first round on Friday morning. But in pure Scheffler fashion, he comes back out, shoots 3 under in the second round, and makes a left to right sidewinder for par on 18. That was awesome. Great to see Scheffler make it to the weekend. Here was world number 1 on handling some of the softer greens at Riviera.
I mean, I would say the softness is challenging for a different reason at times. Like, a good example is this morning on 17, we're playing 17, it's playing into the wind. I had 76 yards to the pin, and 56 degree would have been too much spin. And I hit 56, 115 yards. And it was into about a 5-mile-an-hour breeze, so I hit 50 degree, which is pretty unusual. And then when you get that softness in traffic and speed, it can be very challenging to putt, especially with greens that have this much pitch. And so, I just kept telling myself today, just try and hit good putts, and I hold a couple. I don't know what the stats look like, but I felt like I could have putted a little bit better. But overall, I did what my goal was, which was to try and hit good putts.
I love Scheffler referring to bumpy greens as traffic. That's the first I've heard of that. I like that one. And yes, the stats did say that he improved a lot on the greens between Thursday afternoon and Friday morning. You look at Scheffler in the first round, he was 62nd in the field in putting, improved on that in the second round, has moved up to 26th in putting. Here was Scheffler elaborating more on the greens of Riviera.
I would not say anything in particular. I think in both the last two, teeing off late is never the easiest, and I've gotten off to slow starts. Like teeing off yesterday when we did was pretty challenging around this golf course. I mean, the wind and with how soft the greens were and how bumpy they can get along with wind, and they're fast. If it was last week, it would have been easier because you can kind of at least try to jam it in. Here, it's like you can't. I mean, you don't want to have another 3.5 feet coming back. You kind of got to get up there by the hole, and it's a little bit of a crapshoot sometimes whether or not it's going to go in. And yesterday was definitely a day in which none of mine were going in. So it was nice to get out this morning on some fresher greens and hole some putts, and do what I needed to do in order to get to the weekend.
All right, so Scheffler starting the weekend 12 back of the leaders at 100-1 odds. He has done this his last 2 tournaments, did not get off to a good start at the Phoenix Open. I believe was 1 over after the first round at the Stadium course and vaulted all the way back to a tied for third, and then did the same last week at Pebble where he was even par after round 1. And made a dramatic comeback over the weekend, finishing 2 shots short of Colin Morikawa, and that was talk about another just a heartfelt victory. Colin Morikawa getting back in the winner's circle last week. His wife, Catherine, also expecting their first child. So, I really enjoyed the coverage there from Pebble last week. We're going to take a quick break. This is the Golf Hour on ESPN Houston. Back after this.
You're listening to the Golf Hour
on ESPN 97.5 and 97.9 HD2.
from the Huntington Bank Studios. Here's Will Doctor.
All right, let me give you a feel of what's going on in the world of golf before we get to Tiger. At the Genesis, Marco Ping and Jacob Bridgman hold a one-shot lead at 12 under. We heard from both of them in the first segment. In case you missed that, you can find that in-depth analysis on Apple or Spotify under Golf Hour, hosted by Will Doctor. Rory McIlroy is in solo third at 11 under, one shot back. You've got Xander Schauffele and Adam Scott there at 9 under. Max Grayserman and Minwoo Lee are in a tie at 8 under in a share of 6th. And then Matt Fitzpatrick, Wyndham Clark, Kurt Kitayama, and Tommy Fleetwood are in a share of 8th at 7 under. As far as the action in Kenya, Angel Iora and Casey Jarvis are in a share of the lead at 17 under. These are both really young phenoms. I mean, Iora has contended a little bit more of the last 2 years on the DP since graduating from the Challenger. Casey Jarvis is another really young, talented South African. Should be a great final round. Henny DePlace's chasing one back at 16 under. You have an American one shot back of the leaders in Davis Bryant. We'll hear from more on Iora later on after his third round. You know, Tiger Woods is hosting this week at the Genesis, and this week marks a major milestone year. Tiger and his team reflected on 30 years since turning pro, 14 majors and 82 wins in, and Tiger seems to be, most proud of what the TGR Foundation is doing, and he's reshaping education and he's reshaping junior golf around the country. He made it clear that his proudest legacy moment is likely happening off the golf course right now. Tiger on Tuesday spoke about the influence of his father, the growth of TGR. I was up in Philly last year visiting their new location there at Cobbs Creek, and the Learning Lab is now expanding to Anaheim, among countless other cities across the country. Here's Tiger on what 30-year means to him on and off the course.
Yeah, our first Learning Lab opened up 20 years ago here in Anaheim. To go from that to now expansion at Lulu's place here as well as in Southern California, and then we just opened up a facility in Cobbs Creek in Philadelphia last year. Now we're going to Atlanta and Augusta, Georgia. So we're expanding quickly, and we're serving the underserved, and I think that's the more important thing. Is that yes, golf has been a big piece of my life, but it's not the only part of my life. The educational side and the opportunities that Stanford has provided me, and the people that I've been able to meet there, and that if I didn't work on my grades, and didn't work on my education side of it, and then I wouldn't have had that opportunity to go to such a great university. So a lot of these kids that we're serving, our first gens, they don't really have an opportunity that they deserve, and it's up to us to be able to facilitate that and give them what they truly deserve is an opportunity and be supported. And that's what the TGR Foundation has done for 30 years and will continue to do so.
15-time major champion. My apologies there. But yeah, when I was at the Truist last year and visited Cobbs Creek on Monday, Tiger is taking the Learning Center to a whole new level. The facility at Cobbs Creek there in downtown Philly, it looks like the double-decker range we have here at Memorial Park. And what's so cool about TGR is that the students get to pick their education based on what they're interested in, whether it's science, math, space study. They have it all at TGR Foundation. And Tiger traces all of that inspiration back to his father. And this week at Riviera, Woods was asked about Pops and the role of Earl, how he shaped not only Tiger's golf game, but also his mindset, his philanthropy, and his competitive fire.
We'll talk just a little bit about Pops.
Yeah.
And how he's got you on the right road.
Yeah, I mean, Dad was was unbelievable. He was not only my dad, he was my best friend. He was a lot of different things, and we had an amazing relationship of, I used to, this, go on the Navy golf course where we did our interview, going out there and sneaking on the golf course, be able to play golf with Dad and play in the dark. That was great times, and he was the one that really provided the support and drive for me, and the confidence that he instilled in me that I could chase after my dream, which is playing golf.
And it keeps you grounded.
Oh, he definitely kept me grounded. We gave each other a lot of grief. It was great banter back and forth. Competitive. He always made everything fun. That was the thing. And Dad was always, whatever we did, it was always competitive. One was always competitive, and two was always fun. And because it was fun, we loved to compete, and we did everything together.
Of course, the question everyone wants answered is, when is Tiger Woods coming back as far as playing competitive golf? Woods addressed his latest surgery, the disc replacement in his back. He admitted the recovery has been a challenge, especially in the midst of trying to save the PGA Tour. And Tiger said he's still working day to day to build strength and endurance. Here was Tiger on a potential return.
Close are you to coming back to playing on either the PGA or Champions Tour?
Well, I'm trying, put it that way.
Have you had any setbacks?
The disc replacement has been one thing. It's been a challenge. I've had a fuse back and now a disc replacement. So it's challenging. And now I entered a new decade. So that number is starting to sink in, and thinking about the opportunity to be able to play, in a cart. So that's something that I've, as I said, I won't do out here on this tour because I don't believe in it. But on the Champions Tour, that's certainly maybe a certain opportunity.
Do you have a target yet?
I don't.
I would like to see Tiger try to use a card on the PGA Tour, but I certainly understand his way of thinking there. As far as, everyone walks on the PGA Tour. Champions Tour is a little bit different. You got Daly out there using a cart. And Tiger also went on to say that he has not ruled out the Masters in April yet. So we'll keep an eye on that. He may not be ready to commit to a return to competition, but he also has, Tiger has another major decision in the works. Woods was asked this week at Riviera about the possibility of captaining the 2027 U.S. Ryder Cup team across the pond. I personally don't think that Tiger should captain for his first time on European soil with how stacked the Europeans are right now. I think he should wait until the next home Ryder Cup. But Tiger has confirmed that he's been approached. But, with his health, trying to get back on the golf course, his work on the PGA Tour's future structure, he says there's a lot to consider. Here was Tiger on a potential Ryder Cup captaincy.
Yeah, they have asked me for my input on it, and I haven't made my decision yet. I'm trying to figure out what we're trying to do with our tour. That's been driving me hours upon hours every day, and trying to figure out if I can actually do our team USA, and our players and everyone that's going to be involved in the Ryder Cup, if I can do it justice with my time. Serving on two boards and what I'm doing for the PGA Tour, I'm trying to figure out if I can actually do this and serve the people that are involved and serve them at an honorable level.
So we heard Tiger right there talk about how his main focus right now is the PGA Tour and what the future looks like. And as chair of the PGA Tour's Future Competitions Committee, Woods is trying to help shape a potential overhaul of the tour's schedule as early as 2027. League officials are exploring ideas like a leaner calendar, fewer events, shifting the traditional season time, pushing the the start of the golf season after the NFL finishes up. They're doing all this with really an eye toward creating a more competitive product and bigger moments for fans and players alike. At Riviera this week, Woods was pressed on these possible changes. Here's what he had to say about the future of the PGA Tour.
It's been quite a challenge. It's quite a bit of a challenge on both sides, from the physical golf side of it for me, from trying to do the right thing for all of our membership and our partners and everyone who's associated with the PGA Tour, and trying to do that and trying to make our product even better going forward, given the challenges we have to face. So it is, I thought I spent a lot of hours practicing in my prime. It's not even compared to what we've done in the boardroom. It's been challenging. We're trying to do the right thing. We're making some great strides. The player directors have been unbelievable with their time and their focus and the depth of knowledge and perspective. And then we've had unbelievable board members that come from all walks of life that are wanting to make our tour better and wanting to make our product better.
You know, one of the more controversial changes over the last 2 years was the tour deciding to reduce the number of full-time cards from 125 to 100. It is a move that personally I can't stand, but it is a move that is really tightening up the game's top level and raising the stakes for players fighting to keep status. You know, Tiger addressed the cutting of cards. He said the idea isn't about shrinking opportunity. It's about increasing competition and strengthening the product. Here was the big cat on that.
Adam on the left here, and then to Jeff in the back.
Tiger, along those lines, can you explain to me how less is going to be more for the PGA Tour?
Yeah, we're going to get more top players playing. We're going to make it more competitive by we'll have fewer cards. So that in itself is going to make it more competitive just to be out here. Having Brooks come back, having Patrick Reed play as well as he is and committed to coming back to the tour, having Scotty as dominant as he has been, and to have Rory, complete the career Grand Slam. You have a lot of top players, but also you have a lot of youth that has come up during that time, and we're trying to create opportunities for that turnover coming from the PGA Tour U or it's the Korn Ferry, and try and get more youth out here because eventually they're going to take over the game. And so trying to create that opportunity, trying to create the right competitive model and the environment to foster that, that's been as what Doug asked, that's been the greater challenge of it all.
Koepka's back. Reed is going to come back in 2027. You would think Bryson's around the corner if he can't structure a deal with LIV moving forward. What about Anthony Kim? What about 40-year-old Anthony Kim, fresh off winning LIV Adelaide, shooting 9 under in the final round to beat Bryson DeChambeau and Jon Rahm? You know, Kim was nearly relegated from LIV Golf after struggling last season, and for the 2024 as well when he was first signed back. Of course, he went through a 12-year hiatus after winning 3 PGA Tour events out of the gate. But what a story over the last couple months. You know, Kim was relegated, and then he was able to regain status on LIV this year by finishing top 3 at LIV Q School at Black Diamond in Florida. It doesn't matter what I think of LIV or their product. For Anthony Kim at 40 years old to take 12 years off, still have the feel, still have the game, still have the guts to beat a couple major winners on Sunday, that was some once-in-a-lifetime stuff going on there. He was Tiger on Kim's return.
This kid hit it so good. He was on an unbelievable run when he won at Charlotte, and we played against each other at the Congressional. He played unbelievable at the 2008 Ryder Cup. He had so much natural talent. He could hit any shot he wanted. And then to see him, struggle in life and didn't really want to play golf, didn't want to be part of golf, and then for him to come all the way back, and for him to win and to be as devoted as he is to his family, It's a story in which you just have to wrap your heart around it because of the struggles. I mean, we all can relate to struggles. We all struggle in life, and the longer it goes, the more times you've had tough times. But for him to fight through it, and for Anthony to get to where he's gotten to from the low that he was in, is something that, as I said, you have to just wrap your heart around it.
Outstanding stuff there from Tiger on Anthony Kim. And as Liv continues to get official world golf ranking points, if AK can continue winning, he's going to get himself into those major championships and potentially a spot back on the PGA Tour. We'll take your calls on the other side. Before we do that, Houston, are you looking for a crisp, refreshing beer with real taste and no junk? Try 8 Elite Light Beer, the new light beer from Hall of Famer Troy Aikman. It's brewed with just water, malt, and hops, no additives, no sweeteners, with only 90 calories and 2.6 carbs for a clean finish that you'll absolutely love. Right now, Woodrow's is pouring 8 on tap at the Edo location off San Emanuel. Perfect for game day, happy hour, just kicking back with friends. Go grab one at Woodrow's or 8, whatever you're feeling. And if you're staying in, pick up a case at H-E-B and keep the good times rolling. 8 Elite Light Beer. Lose the additives, keep the taste. Grab yours today.
Mike Booker, chairman of the Texas Golf Hall of Fame and holder of a record number of Texas Golf Association championships.
The Texas Golf Hall of Fame is the foundation of golf in our great state. So many great individuals: Ben Hogan, Byron Nelson, Kathy Whitworth, Ben Crenshaw, Babe Zaharias, Tom Kite, and many more lead the way in making golf in Texas known around the world. Learn about the historic golf courses and the individuals that promoted the game through leadership, teaching, and passion. Texas and golf go hand in hand in the history of the game and camaraderie. Together we can honor the past, celebrate the present, and inspire future generations of Texas golfers. Golf is a sport for everyone, and I encourage you to experience the history of Texas golf digitally at texasgolfhof.org and share with your golf family and friends. That's texasgolfhof.org. See you on the course.
The Golf Hour continues now on ESPN 97.5 and 97.9 HD2.
From the Huntington Bank Studios, here's Will Doctor.
All right, 713-780-3776 is the number. Iora and Jarvis lead in Kenya. Ping and Bridgman have a one-shot lead going into the weekend at Riviera. We'll hear a little more from Iora later on. And we haven't heard from Max Gracerman or Minwoo Lee yet. They're chasing a Riviera. I'd like to get to them. We'll see if we have time. Let's get to a couple of your calls first. Tanner, you're on the line. You're on ESPN Houston. What's going on this morning? How are you, Tanner?
I'm doing good, my man. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to the weekend coverage. It's going to be a beautiful weekend there in L.A. Weather not too bad here in Houston. And, well, you're off to Argentina later this week, aren't you?
Yes, sir. We take the red-eye flight tomorrow night and hit the ground running. 1 week in Argentina, 1 week in Chile. Then we come back, regroup, and as you know, the real season starts, hitting the ground running.
Are you spending any time with Chad during these break weeks? Do you go to any of his practice sessions?
A little bit of them, more at the beginning. He's obviously in Conroe, and also I blow up his phone every day. He got a new set of irons, new set of wedges, but they're the same exact thing. So I'm obviously blowing up his phone, making sure everything's right with those, and he seems very pleased with it. Obviously shooting a 62 at Conroe Country Club yesterday has the caddy feeling good about this upcoming week.
Oh, man, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to following the action. Is it at the Jockey Club this year, Tanner?
It is, and I've heard those greens get pretty diabolical, so as soon as we land Monday morning, I'm gonna take a stroll out there and mark up that yardage book.
I'm looking forward to following, man. You got a question for me as far as Riviera is concerned?
I do. I feel a name that's a little under the radar, and given recent performances haven't been great. But let me read you this. Ludwig Oberg is first in greens and regs, finding 80% of his greens. Given scrambling and putting haven't been great this week, but plus 165 for a top 20 for the defending champ who leads the field in greens and regulation. I feel it's a bet that I want to get all over.
Now, Tanner, repeat the bet one more time for me. What do you like going into this weekend on Ludwig? Because I completely agree with you. You look at his performance last week at Pebble. He played the first 4 or 5 holes in 4 over, and then played Friday. He played Friday to Sunday in 15 under par, and then you get the same situation on him this week where he makes a horrible triple on the third hole in the first round. He's 5 over through 6. And then Ludwig rallies all the way back to make the cut and give himself a chance to keep that top 20 ticket alive over the weekend. You look at the third round matchups with Oberg. You got Ludwig over Patrick Rogers at minus 115. Is that the one you were talking about, Tanner?
I was just talking more top 20 for the tournament with Ty's paying in full at plus 165. I will be looking at some matchups with him. I just think even with putting and scrambling not being great, if you're finding 80% of your greens, I'm a believer that things are going to start taking care of itself.
I think Ludwig is in for a huge weekend. We had him top 20 before the tournament. And once again, just to clarify on these comebacks he's making, Ludwig was 5 over through 8 holes in his opening round. He had doubled 4, bogeyed 5, 6, and 8, and then comes back, shoots 68 yesterday. Shoots a 3 under 68 to vault to 2 under and a tie for 25th. Here was Oberg on making the cut.
Normally, obviously trying to make a cut is a big deal, right? You're trying to make it and play all the rounds in the tournament, but you're also because you are where you are, you're probably not feeling amazing about your game, so it almost makes it a little bit harder at times trying to figure that out. But finished nicely today, and hopefully got 2 more days to build something nice on.
All right, Tanner, you got the green light on Oberg to top 20. I like that pick a lot. I've liked this since Tuesday. Thanks for the call. Timmy time. You're on ESPN Houston on the Golf Hour. What's going on? Timmy.
It looks like we have a beautiful day of golf in store for us in sunny California. And my guy, I think, is going to make a move. I'm taking it plus 225 on Hard Rock Sportsbook as Scotty to top 10, to backdoor top 10 this week after making about a 10-footer for par to make the cut yesterday at Riviera.
Yeah, I like. Listen, it's a tall task at Riviera, Tim, and we have some audio. We're not going to get to it, but Scheffler did say that he feels like he's got a tough relationship with Riv. You know, he plays well at times here, but definitely feels the challenge of it, especially earlier in the week with the softer conditions. But Tim, I'm not going to call you off the ball there. You know, Scheffler's coming off a great Friday. You know, probably has a classic moving today. Maybe shoots 5 or 6 under, and then attacks the top of that leaderboard tomorrow. I just, you know, this is an elite golf course, and you have to respect the guys who are at the top of this leaderboard, and Rory and Xander, Adam Scott, Minwoo Lee. Even the two guys at the top, Marco and Jacob Bridgman, playing phenomenal golf the last 3 weeks. I think this would be it's one thing to come all the way back in Phoenix or Palm Springs. Riviera is a different story. I think you're going to see the winner come out of the top 8 on that leaderboard. Great show today. Thanks, Ryan Marr, on the ones and twos. We'll see you next Saturday on the Golf Hour with Will Doctor.